It's very useful working with grids and guides if you want to do something quite precise in terms of your artwork. Now, this isn't normally my style of artwork, but sometimes I get asked to do jobs like icon design. And for icon design, I have a particular workflow that I'm going to share with you here. Normally, I'll have two windows open, so I'll open a new window for my document. So I've got two separate views. I like to place them side by side, so I'm going to choose to arrange windows side by side using my Arrange Documents button here. And then on this view, what I'm going to do is go to 100%. And this is an icon, so it's very, very small. And I actually want to see a pixel preview of it. So basically, I can't see any change when I change that to pixel preview. But if I was to select this window and choose pixel preview, you'll notice what it's doing. It's actually showing me the actual pixels that are used to make up my image. And it's really good when you're doing icon design to actually have a pixel preview of your image over here so that you can see how it's going to look when it's as small as it's intended to be. But while I'm doing design work, I don't really want to see all the individual pixels of the image here. However, it's useful to know what the grid is. So I'm going to show you how to create a grid for the pixels. So we're going to go back to our regular view, so take pixel preview off, and we can see our nice vector image. Now we're going to go and put a grid on. We're going to go to View, Show Grid, and that places a grid over our image. But as you can see, it doesn't really fit my image well. If we go into our preferences, we go up to Preferences and into Guides and Grid, we can determine the size of our grid, if you like. So at the moment, we've got a grid line every 10 pixels and then subdivisions of 10. So it is splitting it into pixels, but the grid line's every 10 pixels. Now, I could just say, let's have a grid line every pixel. So let's change that to 1 and have no subdivisions. And click OK. And I now have a pixel grid to work with. And I can make sure that my artwork exists within the bounding box and remains within the lines of the grid. Now you'll notice the blue lines that show me the path tell me that the path is aligned. If we go to Outline View, so if I just click on Outline, you can see my outline is aligned to the grid. But if we come out of Outline View and go to Preview mode, you'll see that my stroke appearance actually overlaps the grid, which isn't good. So I could go into my stroke options and I could pull the stroke inside, which definitely helps. So now I have the stroke inside the grid, then I can start to create my elements inside it. And what I want to do here is create a cog. So what I'm going to do is just use some path operations to create a cog. So I'm going to pull all of that inside my grid. We could switch off the background and again, make sure that everything sticks to the grid, okay? So I'm making sure that that circle is within the pixel grid, lying on the edge between two pixels. Now you'll notice that this isn't updating as I'm doing that, this view. The views are separate, but if I switch on the view there, I can get a preview of it and see how it's looking. So let's just do a quick trim of this. Let's select both of those items and let's bring up our Pathfinder. So go to Window, Pathfinder, and I'm going to choose Intersect, and I'm going to hold down Option as I do it so that I keep the editability. I can get access to those shapes if I need to. And I've created my cog, so what I'm going to do is just colorize that. I'm going to make it white on black and then just remove the strokes. And then we'll place our background on again. So let's go back into our Layers panel, put the background on, and in this view we can see how that looks in terms of pixels. So I know that if I need to fatten up my stroke, for example, it's always going to stay within the bounds. So let's try 2 pixels, have a look at this view, and we'll see that that's working quite nicely. So really important when you're working on icons that you keep within a tight grid, and this allows you to do it. Now, of course, you can also bring up your rulers. Now, that's brought up something interesting. Notice that I had this view active when I brought up my rulers. So it's actually come up in this view. So the grid and guides and rulers are all within a view. So if I say show grid, notice I see a grid in this view now. If I want to show rulers in this view, I have to make that view active and go to View, rulers, show rulers. And once I have the rulers there, I can create guides. Now you need to make sure that your guides are on. So make sure that hide guides isn't selected. And as long as it's on, you can bring guides down into your view and use them to help you with your layout. And you'll notice that they're snapping to the edges of my shape as I drag them in. Okay. So just get the guides where you want them. You can also create guides of any shape. I could create circular guides if I want to. So select a circle and make it into a guide. So you would choose Make Guides. So let me just show you that. If I choose an ellipse, align it with the center of here, hold down Alt, click and drag it out. I can select that path. Okay, I've accidentally created it on the wrong layer, so I'm going to cut it out of there and paste it in front of this layer by hitting Command F, and that maintains its position. So I could select this and say View, Guides, Make Guides. And that makes a circular guide for me. So we can set up a really precise grid based on circles and horizontal and verticals using my rulers as measurements. We can even create diagonals as well. So I could choose my pen tool and create some diagonal guides in there as well. So select that and go to View, Guides, Make Guides. And again, we'll do another one here, intersecting with our other guides. Select it, View, Guides, Make Guides. So I end up with a really precise guide in order to be able to create a correct icon. So that's a little bit about using guides and grids to help you with icon design and very precise drawing.